back at the workshop, and I've been doing stuff. I haven't been filming it though, because I'm useless like that. But I would say the vast majority of the work is done. What we have is the exhaust is on, which you'd think would be a straight bolt on because I'd already done it before with the old engine. Turns out, no. Turns out, as my suspicions was when I first put this new engine in with the new mounts, the old engine mounts must have partially collapsed, so the engine was leaning further back than it should. Because when I went to put that exhaust on, it didn't fucking fit. It was hitting on the anti-roll bar and the top panel there. So yeah, and it fitted perfectly before because that's how I made it. So I cut out a little slot and now it's absolutely fine. I mean, as you can see by the amount I cut out and the amount of gap there is now, it was only, I don't know, a centimetre or so. So in reality, considering the engine, you know, from its axis, the angle would be more pronounced. It only moved by a couple of degrees, but that was enough to make it, you know, a good couple of centimetres too low originally compared to how it should be, which is now. But anyway, exhaust is on, turbo's on, looking pretty fucking awesome if I do say so myself. Intake pipe to the air filter in there is done. So yeah, it's getting close. What I was last doing was making a turbo oil return, because obviously it's a totally different turbo, so a totally different oil return. Whole set specify 19mm ID for the oil return, and most people run less and then cry that their turbo's smoking and it's their fault because they've used a tiny hole. You'd say, oh, it's not my fault because the eBay pipe I bought was tiny, but yeah, nearly all the aftermarket ones you buy are fucking tiny. They're like 15mm or less, or they use these fancy aerospace fittings, which again are tiny internally. They might be called -10, -12, whatever, but are they fuck that size inside? But that's your hard luck. You know, it says 19mm plus. It's not hard to get a flange that's too small and drill out the hole or whatever. So that's what I always do. I was a bit concerned on this that the hole back into the sump wouldn't be that big, but honestly it is just, I think it's like 18.5mm is pretty much spot on. But the original pipe, the original oil return is way smaller. It's like not even 15 if I recall. It's like 10, 12, it's tiny. But yeah, I've made a completely custom setup that is 19mm from the flange at the turbo end to the flange at the other end, and it's over here. There's two pieces which will be joined by just, you know, a normal hose in the middle, so it has a bit of flex. They're super long because it's a top mount, and I've painted them pink because they look like pig's dicks. So I found a can of pink paint lying around on the shaft, so they are now pig dicks. So there you go. But yeah, they're dry now. They are made from lots of other pipes. Literally, those pipes, you know, they could be from the 1980s, some of it. They're made from about 4 or 5 different commercial lorry oil return pipes. Basically, over the years, because I know that most of these aftermarket oil return setups are fucking shit and way too small, and who does it better? OEM. Then when I've picked up sort of used or whatever lorry turbos, if they happen to have an oil return fitted to them, fucking I kept them. And because I know they're the right size, because OEM aren't fucking stupid. So, you know, and they come with lots of twists and turns and bends to suit the OEM application. And for this, I needed lots of twists and turns and bends. I mean, yeah, of course you can buy 19mm ID pipe, but you're either making loads of pie cuts to make the bends, which is a bit of a pain in the ass, or you're buying bends, or it's a compromise, and it adds up to loads of fucking money. So this was basically free, because I just chose the bends and the straights I needed, welded it all together. Hey presto, that's the original 180T oil return flange, you know, at the sump end, which I drilled out to 19mm. That one there is an OE, I presume off a whole set, but lots of turbos use that same flange. 19mm flange, and it was already 19mm because it was OE. And the pipes are off various fucking engines, I don't know what they're off, but they're the right size and they're the right bends. So once welded together, they're perfect. And now they're dry. My first job is to fit all them, and then we can carry on. Hour or so later, and I've done stuff. First thing I needed was a Lambda sensor bung. Thankfully, the Lambda sensor wire is pretty long, so it could go wherever. It was down here last time on the original setup, if I remember right. But here's where I ideally wanted it, and it fits, so it's fucking ideal. I haven't welded it in yet, as you can see. I can't be bothered to get the welder out today. It's right over there and I'd need to move loads of stuff, so I'll leave it till Thomas is sort of halfway through tidying his stuff, and because of that, the welder is miles behind loads of shit rather than wheeler, you know, easy to wheel about. So fuck it, I'll do that another day. I mean, it's literally do it in situ in 10 minutes, but pretty easy. I've started a turbo oil feed, and this might look slightly unusual to you because it's not something you'd normally see. But again, this is another OEM truck part off a truck which I'm guessing probably had a HX35 or 40 fitted to it from the factory, because this thing fits perfectly. And what this is rather than the normal oil feed which goes directly into the top, this allows it to be a side feed, which I much prefer, because the amount of fucking direct top oil feeds I've seen have snapped is, yeah, it just gives nicer clearance, because obviously this is that high that an up feed would be, yeah, iffy to getting hit, and I just don't like that shit. And also it's more heat there, I prefer it out the fucking side. And again, with all these used turbos and shit I've picked up over the years from lorry places and stuff, I kept all the fucking fittings that look useful, and now finally, I've never used one of these before, this fucker's finally useful. What that does mean, but I'm glad, is I need a totally different oil feed line. I was never happy with this one anyway, really. It worked, no problem on the old setup, but in all honesty, I just fitted that because I found it lying around and I just wanted the car to fucking run. That is actually a motorbike brake line, if I remember right. But it worked for the previous application, but for this it don't really. So I'm gonna get one made. What I'd probably like, in all honesty, is for this to be metal for a little bit longer to somewhere, not sure where, and then braided, I don't know, and then flexible, I mean, you know. But yeah, I really like that, but I need to now get the oil feed custom made. Another evening at the workshop, and I'm getting things done. Unfortunately, my hopes of having this running by the end of the weekend have pretty much gone to zero because the oil feed pipe that I've got on order isn't coming till Monday, and in all honesty I don't think it's gonna be right for it anyway. It might be, but the bare minimum it's gonna need an adapter at one end, and I'm not even sure if it's gonna be long enough, but it will get me somewhere, possibly, maybe. I've been doing stuff though. Lambda sensor bung is welded on and Lambda sensor wire is in. That's the intake pipe. I've took it back off just so it's easier to do shit, but that's complete now and done up, so it's sort of finalised positions, which means I don't have to fuck with it no more, because obviously it's relatively quite an exact shape to go from like there to there without being in the way of shit. So yeah, I've took that back off. I'm waiting on some gear cable retaining clips, which I've ordered from, I think they're called Toyota Direct Parts, but when you look it up, it's actually just Fish Brothers Toyota, the dealership in Swindon. Still hasn't arrived though, and I haven't even heard any message apart from confirmation of my order. So I fucking hope they're gonna, you know, turn up sometime soon. So while I'm not gonna get it started this weekend because of the lack of oil feed, don't mean I can't get on with other, well, probably bigger jobs. That is the boost pipe run complete. So from where it goes through into the car to the compressor outlet. The only sort of, that bit is actual silicone hose, so it's got a bit of flex. That bit is a bit of hose, but nearly all the rest is metal, butted up to metal, and the hose is just joiners. To be honest, it makes no difference. It's contrary to the bullshit some people think, unless you don't know how to do your clamps up, or unless you got crap clamps, or your hoses are shit, hoses can do well over 30 psi without any issue. I've run them millions of times at over 30 and they never come off, and it does fit really nicely. It's a nice smooth bends that goes over the hump of the engine mount. It's going to clear all the water lines, and it still gives plenty of room for the turbo intake, which is there. In other news, I have, well, from the factory, these cars have the battery, I think it's there, and obviously I moved that when I did this conversion to, it was there, but obviously that's not going to work again because there's now exhaust and screamer pipe and shit there. So I've moved it again, and honestly it's probably the easiest and best place yet. It's now inside. It's basically going just there. It actually needs about almost exactly the same length of positive wire, and it could have less negative wire now, but it's not worth shortening it for nothing, you know. It's fine. So yes, another big job that turned out to be super easy, but now it's getting to the stage where there's not much left to do. I need to change the plug for the map sensor because I've got that different map sensor, 4-bar external one, so I need to change the plug. You know, it's no big deal, some minor wiring. But for that I need to work out where I'm going to put the vacuum block, because it's going to come off there. But for that I need the intake pipe on. I also need to work out where the breather, the catch tank's going to go, because it did go here before and it might still do, but it might need moving slightly further over. It's not a big deal, but again I can't do that until everything else is done. but I don't want to put the intake pipe on until I've totally finished the wiring, because obviously makes it easier to get to. Same as the gear shift linkage clips. Obviously I want to put them on before I put the intake pipe back on, because although the intake pipe's literally like 2 minutes to remove, I don't want to be fucking struggling, you know. I ain't going to be taking it off and on for no reason, do you know what I mean? I'm not going to waste my time. So yeah, it's got to the stage now where, although all the jobs are like 2-minute jobs, I want to do them in the right order, so I'm not doing them fucking 6 times. So honestly, the next job I really probably should do, aside from, I could put the fuel rail on, I guess, but whatever. I need to do I think I should do the oil feed pipe next, because without that, because I don't even know which way I'm going to run it, because from the factory it comes around this way. On the old setup I run it around this way. It's roughly in the middle, so it don't make any odds. I just need to see what's going to work best. I don't really care, and it doesn't make it easier for me one way or the other, I don't think. But I kind of want to get hold of the pipe first and work it out, because what I've bought is because the standard hose is mostly solid metal, and it's got some slight flexi braided bit at the one end. The one I've bought is an OE replacement, but braided the whole way. And obviously the OE oil feed is a similar place, but lower down, because obviously it's a low mount turbo. I'm hoping, but I don't know, that that is going to go, you know, it will run happily to about here. It still need an adapter from this fitting to this fitting, which is the OE Jiminy Bob, but shouldn't be a problem. But until it arrives, I'm kind of at a loss. I mean, don't get me wrong, I can just get one custom made, but I've bought this one, A, on the hope that it will work, and B, if it doesn't, it's only 25 quid delivered, it will get me closer to knowing exactly what the fuck I can go to a hose place and tell them I need exactly. You know what I mean? As in length, as in whatever I need to do. Because, like I said, maybe that way's still easier. Maybe it's that way. Maybe it's another way. And it's the same with the fittings. This thread goes directly into where the outlet is above the oil filter. So no need that one end with a banjo, you know, that size. This one, I know what thread that is, because I found the original, well, an original one that somebody's welded up for reasons that I don't know. So I know it's that thread, but that's far bigger than this, so I can't just, you know, screw a banjo in unless I got a custom made one with a fucking giganormous banjo. I've not got a problem with that, but if I don't do that, I need a little adapter from that to, say, the OE banjo size, which is not a big deal. Unfortunately, of all the millions of fittings I've got, I haven't got one, so it'll have to be something I'd buy, but we'll see. I mean, I certainly prefer doing it this way than a fitting on top, because I just don't like that shit. I'm not a fan. Whereas this, I much prefer. Looks cool too. But yeah, I think because of the amount of progress I've done, it's a lot. I think it's maybe quitting time for tonight, because I could go on, but I almost feel like anything more, I'm just like doing bits and pieces for the fucking sake of it. And also, this video, I wasn't going to bother posting one until it's like a runner. But maybe I underestimated how much more bits and pieces I needed to do. And it's been nearly, I think, coming up 10 days without a video anyway. So, fuck it. I think this, because we're practically there, I mean, in all intents and purposes, from everything you've seen on this video, it looks complete. And then in the next video, it will literally be whacking on the fuel rail, putting on the turbo oil feed, and knowing exactly where those few bits and pieces bolt up to, and start the fucker and say a prayer that it's actually a perfectly good engine. I'm going to thank you for putting up with this shit. I hope you like it, and we will see you in hopefully less than a week from when you see this video, and this fucker's going to start. Famous last words. As ever, if you want to help me out by joining my Patreon, I'll put the link in the description, and it'd be much appreciated, because obviously this don't earn me fuck all, you know what I mean? It's like, yeah, I think this month's YouTube earnings was showing at a mighty £40, and if you know, whether you know or not, but YouTube don't even pay out unless you hit 65. They keep it for the month after, so they won't even give me any money this month. They will literally just sit on it until I hit, until the month after, presuming that makes me up to the 65 quid. So yeah, this shit ain't an earner. I'm just doing it for the crack. So and because I want this fucker to run. So yeah, anyway, as always, like, comment, subscribe, tell your friends, do all that stuff, anything to help this shit grow. And I'll see you next time. Ta-ra.